Hello and welcome to Friday Night Fright presents Comic Book Cavalcade 2020. Man, we're going to have some fun this month. Every episode in May, every day in May, there's going to be a brand new episode. It's going to be a mini review of a comic book movie. Yay, can't wait, hyped. So it's going to cover the gauntlet. It's going to be loads of MCU stuff. There's going to be some DC stuff probably. Might be some other stuff. There's going to be Flash recaps of Flash Season 2 every Tuesday. So it's going to be 4 or 5 of those, depending on how many Tuesdays are in May. But it's going to be tight, because I've also got a week off. Yay! Anyway, this is the intro Comic Book Cavalcade. So you hear this every day of the week, and then you'll hear an intro for the movie I'm covering that day, or TV show. Ooh, scary! Anyway, I'll be back after a brief word from our sponsor. So, on to Marvel's Black Panther, a movie which... Look, I'm not going to say problematic's the right word for it, because I don't think the idea of it was problematic. But unfortunately, Marvel does have a small percentage of its fan base who are, for lack of a better word, horrible human beings. They deny they're sexist, they deny they're racist, they deny that they're discriminate and that they have a fascination for Aryan white heroes, but they do, essentially. And the reason I said Black Panther is problematic is there's always a chance that these people, for lack of a better term, will have some impact on box office and potentially not allow us to see the trilogy of the Black Panther character that we should deserve to see. Luckily, these people were ignored roundly and the movie was praised on release and earned $1 billion. So, yay, progression is cool. Look, here's the thing about what people don't understand. Marvel was built on diversity, and okay, yes, a lot of it was rooted in culture of time, taking advantage of cultural approximation and appropriation, and looking at where things were going and reacting accordingly like any business. But they still did it. They still introduced classic characters like Black Panther, a female Captain Marvel, and lots of other characters, Luke Cage, for example, who rose above their beginnings and became somewhat iconic. So, you've got to give Marvel props for that. And I remember at the time thinking Black Panther was really, really good. It's directed by Ryan Coogler, a.k.a. the guy who made Creed, which I loved, a.k.a. the guy who made Fruit Velvet Station, which I haven't watched, but I'm sure it's really, really, really good. And it's probably too good of director to waste his time making superhero movies, besides to anyway, and he, by all accounts at the time, made a really, really good one. But does it hold up to Ian Austin's personal standards? Well, you'll find out in just a second. So, Black Panther then, it's a fantastic movie. Big surprise, I know. Ian, he's a Marvel shit. He just loves all Marvel movies. Well, in this case, it's genuinely a really good movie. In fact, to be honest, it's probably the best made of all of the Marvel movies in general. I'm a huge fan of James Gunn's work on Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm a huge fan of Taika Waititi's work on Thor Ragnarok, but this is just incredible directing. Ryan Coogler is coming not to just make a mere Marvel movie. A mere Marvel movie sounds like an insult, but it's not. No, he's made a proper movie which actually has something to say. I know it's going to sound strange as I'm a podcaster with a pervade interest in schlocky horror movies and superhero movies, but I like genuinely really great movies sometimes. Not too often, but sometimes I really do. I don't always appreciate them at the time. I know I wasn't a fan of The Irishman and Cinema, for example. But I am someone who likes good movies. I believe it or not, I do actually have 2 degrees in movie studies and script writing. So, I like to think that I've got somewhat of an affinity for classic cinema. And I think Black Panther is nearing up there. I know a lot of people would double take at that and say, no, it's not. It's a mere superhero movie. But I would argue that they said about Westerns at one point. And yes, there are elements of Black Panther movie which don't work. I'm not too fond of the action. Some of it's a bit goofy and a bit CGI heavy. But sometimes you have to look outside of the mere visage visage, if you were, of the movie and view it a bit differently. What Black Panther does is bring a strong sense of character and social change, social awareness to the movies. It's clearly a movie dealing with the fictional African country of Wakanda, but also looking at the broad spectrum of civil rights in America and indeed around the world. And obviously, I'm not an expert in such things. I'm a 35-year-old white guy from Aylesbury, England, so I don't exactly claim to be an expert on civil rights or the experiences of people who've been through that sort of horrible change of society. Not that it's horrible change, I mean the horrible time they went through. I'm no expert on that. I'm privileged. There's no two ways about it. But I love seeing movies like this because it just allows you to view a different culture, a different experience, to see things through a different viewpoint. If that makes any sense. And okay, they're not always great. I wasn't the biggest fan of Moonlight, for example. Technically brilliant though it was, it didn't quite hit me because that wasn't my experience. But I appreciated watching it, and I appreciated the fact that it was made differently to the movie, how a movie would be made if some white male director made it. And that's why I think Marvel Cinematic Universe needs more viewpoints. And I like the fact that this movie clearly has a viewpoint which is not the usual one. It would have been all too easy to make Black Panther and just make a silly superhero movie and, loosely touch on aspects of African culture, rather than a superhero movie which dwells in it. And this is the same thing I was saying earlier about the some of the quote-unquote Marvel fans who don't want to see this sort of diversity in Marvel movies because they just want their white leads who apparently have been oppressed over the decades, where, we haven't. If anything, we've been given too much. It's nice to see superhero movies from different perspectives. And probably the best thing about Black Panther is it feels authentic. It genuinely feels authentic to the extent where the villain is wrong in how far he wants to go, but he's not wrong with how he feels or how he's been treated in the slightest. It's definitely a more grown-up Marvel movie in which the villain is only slightly worse than the hero, if that makes any sense. And it's very grown up in that regard because it's pointing out, there are bad guys, there are good guys, but, not flat characterizations. There's some complex characterization going on here, anchored by some stunning performances and really, really good writing. And then it goes into the fight sequences, which are a bit sloppy and not necessarily what movie aimed for. It's a bit like you watch some Tarantino's movies and the build-up's fantastic, and then it invariably ends in shootouts, which there's nothing wrong with that, and he does some really weird, but you just wish sometimes there'd be a bit more of a clever ending. Something like Doctor Strange, where they weaponized the themes inherent through the movie and then used them during the ending. It wasn't just Doctor Strange fighting Dormammu hand to hand. It was, we're going to come up with an interesting way for this movie to end. And the fights aren't particularly inspiring in this movie, but then the final conversation between the two characters, T'Challa and I can't remember. I've got Michael Jordan's character. Sorry, I can't remember his name. That's terrible, but what can you do? But final exchange between two of them is fantastic and really resonant and has some incredibly powerful lines which really stick with you long after the movie's ended. Not names, but rhymes, but they're lines even. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it's definitely one of the stronger Marvel movies. Not quite as fun as the other ones, but very cool. There are some good action sequences in there. Just final ones a tad overdone, if anything. Got what they're going for, but didn't quite stick land in terms of the action, but the F&S characterization of like definitely stuck landing, and ways they took some problematic parts from the comic book and they managed to pull them off. So very good, very good. Couldn't really give it 5 out of 5, could I? I mean, because of the action, 4.5 out of 5, I guess. It's only action laying it down, and that's it. If it had better action, it'd be 5 out of 5. As it stands, it's by far the best Marvel movie in almost every way except the action aspect. You know, I guess it can't be a perfect movie then, or a classic movie then, but it's very, very, very good. And I think if they iron out those kinks, it'll definitely be much higher rated in the future. And if they can keep up the moral ambiguity, moral complexity as well, it'll be very good. Anyway, next up is Avengers Infinity War. Yay! So I'll be back tomorrow with that review. And until then, remember, life is beautiful.